living with a purpose, with a greater power to kind of pull you through the rough times. And it took me a couple of years of soul searching. I talk to people about this all the time, like, oh, how do I just find my purpose? And it's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of deep soul searching, I think, to really determine what your individual purpose and your big why, your kind of guiding light is. Honestly, for a couple of years, I just put my nose down. I said, okay, look, I can't turn it around overnight, okay, but I can put one foot in front of the other. If you're not where you want to be today, you can be anywhere in the world you want to be in the next probably 5 to 10 years. And that's an absolute reality and fact right there.
Good day, everyone. This is Dr. David Phelps of the Freedom Founders Mastermind Community and Dentist Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Today, I'm going to enjoy this conversation as much as you are because I've had a little bit of a preview. My guest today is Mr. Ken Wimberly. Ken, how are you, sir?
I'm so good and so honored to be here with you. Thank you.
Well, like so many good things in life, we came together, met through another connection. We talked about that on our first call, and some of my best people, some of my best friends came through other people, and I think that's why we're here today. But I want to share your message with my tribe, because that's what we do here, and that's what the podcast is. I think makes it fun. I get to interview and get to know cool people, and I get to take the same thing out to my audience. And we resonated on a lot of different areas. I'll give you a little bit of the theme we're going to talk about today. It's going to come as something maybe a little bit different, but I think something very good for every one of you, because I know who you are. You're just like me, and you're like Ken, and like a lot of us who are hard drivers, and we want to build security for our families, and we're busy doing those things because we think it's the right thing to do, and yet sometimes it's not. So before I go further, a few facts about Ken. Ken, you've got a lot of fun facts. You competed in over 10 Tough Mudder events. That's awesome. You've also had some business setbacks, as I have as well. Personal bankruptcy and business back in 2001. You lost your home to a short sale, amassed a lot of debt in that great recession of 2008. These are all things we can relate to. But you also paid off over $350,000 in debt between 2012 and 2014. So again, like the turnaround, kind of the mess to success, what we learn from those things. That's why I love people like you, is because you bring the reality of the world. None of us has it all figured out. We all have setbacks. You've run 5 full marathons, a lot of half dozen half marathons. I just made that one up. You built a commercial real estate team that was ranked #1 commercial team 2014 and 2015 in the entire Keller Williams commercial organization. I mean, that's top shelf right there. You're an equity owner in 5 different operating businesses. So you're definitely one of us. You're an entrepreneur. Got your hands in a lot of different things, as we've talked about. You've been a commercial real estate investor since 2006. You read between 15 and 20 books per year, and you've been actively practicing Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning since 2015. There's more here, but we could take the whole podcast and talk about all Ken's cool stuff. And cool, I mean everything. But today, we want to focus on, Ken, is what we're going to title this podcast, The Legacy of Love. So let's go there. And I think the way I want to frame this up is what I earlier said, with all of your attributes, all of the things that you've done, the things that our audience does and works really hard. The thing that we don't want to do is go through life and miss the most important things, which are really not things, that they're people and the connections to people, and how it's so easy to make up the excuse that my busyness is for, in this case, my family. This busyness is for my family. I mean, we do that. I've done that. I still do it, Ken. So talk about that. Talk a little bit about your background and like the role models you had growing up, and then we're going to morph into what you've discovered on your entrepreneurial path and your family connections.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. So I guess going back to role models growing up, it was, I didn't have the most ideal role models growing up, and I wanted them. I grew up in a single parent household. The first memory of my life was my parents getting divorced, and was raised by a loving mother who was also an alcoholic. And so she spent, as much time out of the house, running around at the bars as she did in the house with her 2 kids. So I really was seeking role models in my life, and I didn't know I was seeking that in my life, but I felt that something was missing as I was growing up. And because of that, I actually ended up volunteering and going to military school when I was just a young man at 12 years old, and found some role models there, found discipline and structure there. And one positive role model as I was growing up was my grandfather. He was an entrepreneur. He owned a steel erection construction company. And I do remember, certainly as I got older, I was fascinated, kind of just going into his office and listening to him talk to suppliers and vendors and employees and running a business. I thought that was something really neat, something I one day aspired to have and do on my own. And then my uncle, who worked for my grandfather, as my grandfather passed, my uncle frankly became the patriarch of our family and has been a phenomenal role model to me as I've become a parent and a business owner of myself right there. So had some of those. I had my own children, my first child in 2002, and was scared to death, had no clue what to do. And I think I was 31 years old at that time and still felt just too young and underprepared to have a child. And but I tell you what, the moment she was born, I felt this incredible sense of love and connection and just spirituality between us. And so that was a beautiful thing. And at that time of my life, you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but I felt like I was living a little bit on autopilot at that point. I was doing what I thought was supposed to be doing business-wise, just marriage-wise, business-wise, everything. I wasn't living my life. I was living other people's lives or society's life or what I felt like was supposed to be that. And as I look back on that time for a bunch of years, about 10 years, honestly, until I was, I think 39, 40 years old, that was kind of my life. I was a good dad. I don't want to diminish that. I was a good dad. And frankly, I'd started, capturing some stories and moments for my children way back then. But I wasn't really aware of who I needed to be and who I later became at that time. So I had a bit of awakening, both spiritual and physical in my late 30s, early 40s, as really I heard Gary Keller on stage one day talk about a big why and having a purpose in your life. And that was the first time in my life I had ever heard that concept of living with a purpose, with a greater power to kind of pull you through the rough times. And it took me a couple of years of soul searching. I talk to people about this all the time, like, oh, how do I just find my purpose? And it's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of deep soul searching, I think, to really determine what your individual purpose and your big why, your kind of guiding light is. And when I decided that, when I kind of understood what that was, my entire life began to change and started living with intentionality. And I will be completely transparent. When I defined my purpose, it was much more aspirational than reality at that point. Mm-hmm. In my purpose, just to be clear, is to be the best possible example for my wife, my children, and for others who might look to me for inspiration. Because what I've learned over the years is that people are watching, and you don't think they're watching, but they are. And whether it's employees or team members, or maybe people you never even knew, and frankly, you don't know personally, but they're watching you. And your story and your life and the way you live can have an impact on many, many other people. So that framework of being that best possible example for that group of people in all areas of my life. And that's, health, fitness, wellness, personal relationships, love, caring, benevolence, spirituality. And it's kind of like a living document, if you will. This My Big Why is a bit of because the most recent thing I've added was adventure. Because I found, that was a few years ago, I added adventure onto that. It's like, that's important that I show that as an example to my children. I'll get myself out of the comfort zone and go do things that scare me to death. And I'll do them because I think, it's something I deep down in want to do. So I threw adventure into there. So anyways, I defined that purpose. It kind of just started me on a direction as a father and entrepreneur. And that was 39, 40 years old as that happened. And from there, I'm 50 today, and the last 10 years of my life have just seen exponential growth in terms of, so all those businesses you mentioned, those streams of income, that's all been in the last 10 years. It's been accomplished in the last 10 years. And so I want every listener here to understand that if you're not where you want to be today, you can be anywhere in the world you want to be in the next probably 5 to 10 years. And that's an absolute reality and fact right there.
It is. And I'm so glad you say that, because I think a lot of people, and I think I felt this way as I was like you, evolving through life and not having a greater why or a purpose. And, again, kind of on that treadmill and not really building relationships, role models, didn't seek those out till later. You were well, you were a little bit forced into it, as you said. I mean, you went to the military, you got some discipline, some guidelines, some guardrails. So that was, I mean, that was wisdom on your part at a very young age. What I find about you, Ken, and I want to make this point because I read a lot of your fun facts. You didn't include all your highlight reel. It's not your sizzle reel of Ken out here looking great. And, you know, unfortunately, that's a lot of time what we see in other people. And I think the lack of authenticity has us many times comparing ourselves to other people who, yeah, they have had successes. Maybe they're successful right now. Absolutely. In certain areas, maybe not all. And they're showing up like that. And we think, what is wrong with me? And you led with, yes, I've made some turnarounds. I've made some comebacks, but boy, I call it like being in the deep hole. I've been, you know, you said, I've been there. I've been where I was looking up and going, you know, how do I climb out of this one? You know, when you have a family and responsibilities, and it has to do with finances, and it could have to do with health. And I mean, all kinds of things can put us there. And we think, what's wrong with me? What did I do to deserve this? Or why did I make these mistakes or bad decisions? And you come right out and say, look at me. Look, I got flaws. I got scars. I got battle tracks on me. But hey, you too can overcome this. And through that adversity, I want you to talk a little about the adversity, about being there in places where this is really stressful. How did you, through mindset or collaboration, or what helped you get through? And I'm sure part of that is how you developed your bigger why and your purpose today. That was the character building that got you there. Give us a little bit of that, because I know that's there, and I know you can pour that out.
Well, not only that, I don't want to give the impression that adversity is 100% gone in my life, because it's not. It still shows up in different aspects of my life. I had a really challenging a year or so ago with my older son, and it was tough going through that as a parent. There are seasons as a parent that are much more challenging than others. And for those that have little kids, I always say between the ages of about 4.5 and 11, it's just the golden years right there. And but I had a really challenging season a year or so ago, and you know, sometimes they still pop up today. But you know, from way back in, you know, filing bankruptcy and having to, you know, shut down our business, let our employees go, let them down, let our suppliers down, let my partner down. And it was hard. It was really hard. And it felt like those dark days might never end. I'll be really honest with you. And you know, just looking down a dark, deep hole. And I had to really look inside. I had to look at just my belief in something greater than me and opportunity greater than me out there. And I honestly, you know, for a couple of years, I just put my nose down. I said, okay, look, I can't turn it around overnight. Okay. But I can put one foot in front of the other. I can still work. I have my health. I can work. I can go, you know, I have this certain skill set, which was the restaurant skill set at that time. So that I can go I'm employable. I can do some things. And so that's what I did. I just went back out and started putting one foot in front of the other. And then I, you know, saw an opportunity in the real estate world from there. I said, well, frankly, I was working 70 hours a week for $50,000 a year. I was like, this will not work. I've got a baby girl on the way and I'll never see her. And so I got out of that restaurant business into the real estate business. And I mean, hey, that was hard. I jumped right into commercial real estate, not residential. And, you know, I talk to, I bet, dozens of people a year about getting into the commercial real estate world that approach me. And I tell them all, you expect at least 1 year, maybe 2, before you make any significant money, and maybe a year before you make any money at all, and maybe 2 before any significant money. And it's a grind to go through, but you know, that's what I did. I'll tell you what, I've always believed in. I mean, I feel so blessed to live in the United States, to live in the land of opportunity here. And I've always believed in myself and my ability to create opportunity. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Your restaurant business is one of those examples. And sometimes it does. And so with the real estate business, I saw the opportunity and I knew it was going to take a while. But you know, some people were kind enough to teach me, hey, if you do these things over time, you will be rewarded for it. And I did those things day over day, over day, over day, over day. And I started slowly building a pipeline of people and contacts and opportunities there. And, you know, after a year, I actually made my first $1,800 in that first year. So, and then after 2 years, I made 6 figures, and then it started to grow from that. So, but the adversity is tough. It's kept coming, right? Sometimes you get ahead of yourself. Let me say this. Let me back up on the adversity, because you said something about the transparency and the vulnerability. I used to keep all that stuff, all the bad stuff boxed up and hidden away, because I felt like that was, just like I said, it was the bad stuff. It was not who I wanted to be. But once I kind of opened up that box and I just laid all the cards on the table, and I said, this is me. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And let me show you some of these cards, because some of them are just really bad decisions that I made. Some of them are immoral decisions I've made, or just poor judgment decisions I've made. And as I lay all those on the table and say, well, this is me, and this is who I've become because of recognizing that and laying out who I wanted to be, and now starting to live in alignment with who I want to become. My life has opened up and flourished because of that honesty and the transparency and the willingness to grow, to accept who I have been, and to look at who I want to become. And I'm always evolving. I'm a big fan of the word Kaizen, constant improvement, right there. And as I started kind of looking that way at my life, that way, things have gotten better.
If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.